Thank you, everybody, for coming to the Aaron Torres Podcast YouTube page. I do have one quick favor before we get to the video that you came here for, and that is very simply this. You see that little red subscribe button below this video? Go ahead, smash that subscribe button. It really does help me. It really does help this channel grow and my audience grow. So go ahead and hit that red subscribe button. And now, here is the video that you came here for. I do want to talk about a team, a program, a conference that we haven't talked all that much about, and that is the Syracuse Orange out of the ACC. And if you listen to this podcast, we haven't talked much about Syracuse this year. We haven't talked much about the ACC this year. The ACC is really bad, and Syracuse is really bad. Don't generally talk about bad teams on this show. We don't talk much Washington State basketball. We don't talk much Illinois football. And we don't talk Syracuse basketball because they stink. But something happened on Saturday that I do think is worth noting, and that was that Syracuse welcomed what was unquestionably the best team that they have had in Syracuse all season long. They welcome in the Duke Blue Devils, Coach K's final year. It's down to a couple weeks of the regular season. And in Coach K's second-to-last road game of his storied career, he goes up to the Carrier Dome in Syracuse. 30-plus thousand fans in the stands. I would venture to guess, I don't know, 98+% of them were wearing orange, and it was an absolute madhouse. Best crowd that they have had in forever. They said during the broadcast it was the most students that they have ever had for a game at the Carrier Dome. So great crowd, great environment, everybody's excited, and then what happens? Game tips off, and Duke just runs away with it. The Auburn-Tennessee game on ESPN ran late by the time we got to the broadcast. Duke was up 14-0. Then they were up 20-4. And by the end of the game, we got a final score that wasn't really a final score so much as it was a butt-whooping. Duke beats Syracuse in Coach K's final trip to Syracuse. Final score, 97-72. And I'm just going to say it. It is time that we have a big boy adult conversation. I know that Jim Boeheim's a legend. I know he's an all-time great. I know it's weird thinking about Syracuse basketball and college basketball without him. And to be clear, I don't even want him to retire because he's one of the few links left from my childhood when I first became a college basketball fan. But I do think if you're a Syracuse fan, enough is enough. It's time to be official. It's time to be honest, and it's time to be serious. It's really time to start having a conversation about whether it's time for Jim Boeheim to step aside as Syracuse head coach. Again, not forcing him out, not wishing him out. I wish he turned things around, but it's time to have that conversation. And to kind of go big picture here for a second, let me say this. I know what a lot of people, and certainly any Syracuse fan that is familiar with my work, is thinking. Torres, you're a UConn alum. UConn used to be Syracuse rival. You are reveling in Syracuse being terrible. You're enjoying it. Stop it. You're just trashing our program for the sake of trashing it. And what I would say is it's actually the exact opposite, right? When you are a fan of a school, even though UConn and Syracuse don't play, we're still I don't want to say we're rivals because we don't play, but you want the teams that you know can be great to be great. Listen, we got a lot of Kentucky fans that listen to this show. I'm telling you right now, you know who wants Louisville to be good every single year besides Louisville fans? It's Kentucky fans. So when Kentucky beats them and Kentucky plays them, there's something to be, they're playing for something. It means something. It means something for their rival. It means something for the state. And so while UConn doesn't play Syracuse anymore, I still want Syracuse to be good because I have seen Syracuse at its absolute highest level. Let me tell you a quick story. So first of all, I'm blessed to do what I do. I think you can like me, you can hate me, whatever, but I don't think anybody disagrees that I clearly have an excitement and a passion for what I do as a job. And in doing this job for the past 15, 20 years, dating back to when I was in college, I've had the chance to go to most of the biggest and best venues in college basketball. I've been to games at Rupp Arena. It's incredible. I've been to games at Gamble Pavilion at UConn. I've been to Pauley Pavilion. I've been to the McHale Center. I have been to so many great venues, not all of them, but a lot of them. And what I would tell you is this. There is no home court anywhere in college basketball like the Carrier Dome at Syracuse. I have been to the Carrier Dome. I have been there for big games dating back to probably about a decade, 12, 15 years ago. I have been in that building when there is 30-plus thousand people for a huge game, and I am just telling you there is nothing like it. It is so big, so spacious, so loud, so crazy, so maniacal that to me, it's kind of sad to see the place half empty and not operating at the capacity, the Syracuse program, the way that it should. Because this should be a top 15 program, bar none, in all of college basketball. This should be a program, I'm not saying you got to win a national championship every year, but I do believe you can have a program that can compete at the highest level. It's probably right there behind Duke, UNC, maybe Louisville, as no worse than the fourth best job in college basketball. I would argue a top 10 to 12 job in college basketball, and there is nothing like Syracuse basketball at the Carrier Dome. I'm telling you, you bring a recruit into that place in a game that matters, I would venture to guess that if Syracuse is doing what they're supposed to be, you bet pretty close to 1,000% on your recruiting, because it is such a unique home court environment. And Syracuse, I truly believe, is one of the most underrated fan bases in college basketball. I've said it for years. There's two fan bases that I believe are the most underrated in all of college basketball. I think there are many that are properly rated. Kentucky is properly rated. It's a crazy fan base. They call it Big Blue Nation for a reason. I think that Kansas fans are great. I think that Gonzaga fans are great. I think that UCLA fans are great. There are two that I believe are the most underrated in college basketball. Arizona is one. Go to a Pac-12 tournament. It's 99% Arizona fans. They call it the Arizona Invitational. I was just in Tucson. The entire city, the entire state outside of Tempe and ASU fans bleeds Arizona basketball. The other one is Syracuse. When you can put 35,000 people in a football stadium, people care. And again, it goes back to my days as a UConn fan, a UConn alum living in the Northeast, going to the old Big East tournament, where UConn would always bring a lot of fans, but there would never be more UConn blue than Syracuse orange. And so I bring it up because at its absolute best, Syracuse should be operating at just an insane level where you're not competing for a national championship every year, but you're kind of in that next tier, maybe a team like Purdue, or I don't know, I'm trying to think here off the top of my head, just looking at the top 25 standings, the way that UConn is right now, where UConn's not, I don't think UConn's going to win a national championship, but they've been in the top 20 all year. They can obviously beat anybody, and I'm not saying they're the best team in college basketball, but they ain't 15-14 overall. Maybe kind of the equivalent, again, of what a Wisconsin is, what a Purdue is, what Texas Tech has been the last 4 or 5 years. A program that's perennially in the top 20 and once every 2 or 3 years has a chance to win a conference championship, get a number 1 seed, and win a national championship. And that's where Jim Boeheim comes in. Because I'm not criticizing the guy. I'm not saying that he is not a Hall of Famer and an all-time great that has over 1,000 career wins. But what this program has become is so much less than what it is capable of being. Let me go ahead and pull up some stats about Syracuse basketball over the last 8 seasons of Syracuse basketball, because I think they'll blow you away, right? We know they left the Big East. We know they've been in the ACC. And by the way, year 1 in the ACC, they were awesome. 28-6, 14-4, second place in the ACC. Here's the problem. The 8 years that have happened since. Let me just go ahead and read you what Syracuse's win-loss record has been over the previous 8 seasons dating back to the 2014-2015 season. They went 18-13, finished 8th in the ACC. They went, after the 18-13, 23-14, finished 9th in the ACC. They went 19-15, finished 7th in the ACC. 2018, 23-14, 10th in the ACC. 20-14 in 2019, 7th in the ACC. 18-14, 6th in the ACC in 2020. Last year they go 18-10, 9-7 in the ACC. And with the loss to Duke on Saturday, they are 15-14 this year, 9-9 in the ACC. I am not great at math, but that means that they are 169 and 108 overall over the last 8 years, which is a 61% win percentage, and they are 74-70 in the ACC. Does that sound like a top 5 program to you? Does that sound like a top 10 program to you? Does that sound like one of the best programs in the ACC to you? It doesn't. And so to me, you have to start asking some tough questions about Jim Boeheim. Not saying he's a bad guy. Not saying he does. All I'm saying is this is a program that deserves to be considered among the best in college basketball, and it is so far from it. And here is the crazy part. They've actually had success in the tournament. And so I think it's a little bit divisive within the Syracuse fan base, and I think it kind of gets to the existential question of what you want to be as a fan. Because in college basketball, we determine so much by the NCAA tournament. And I can't deny that over the last 7 to 8 years, even as crazy as Boeheim's been, he's had some success. Made a Final Four in 2016. Made a Sweet 16 in 2018. Made a Sweet 16 in 2021. So over those 8 years, Syracuse has gone 74-70 in the ACC, basically 50% win percentage in the ACC. But they've made 3 Sweet 16s and a Final Four. And so it's that tough question of, yes, I understand that we are not great in the regular season, but just get us into the tournament and we can make moves. My problem is that increasingly, that is how the program is defined. When I was young, when most of you were young, when most of you started watching college basketball, this was one of the best programs in college basketball. This was a program that, as I just said, every year or two, they were consistently in the top 10, capable of winning a national championship, capable of doing anything. From 2009, let's just use 2009 to 2014. 4 Sweet 16s, 2 Elite 8s, and a Final Four in 2013. So, and by the way, 2012, they were the number 1 team in the country for part of the year that Kentucky won the national championship. So, what I'm saying is this, is that I think it's great that they make the tournament every once in a while and make a run, but that's kind of who they have become in modern college basketball. They're no longer an elite program. They're no longer a feared program. The Carrier Dome is no longer one of the most intimidating places to go to. Instead, it's the opposite. Their identity as a program is, hey, we're going to be a bubble team, and let's hope to get into the tournament, and let's hope to make a run, and let's hope to pull some upsets, rather than being what Kansas is, what Kentucky is, what Duke is, what Carolina is most years, which is a team that's consistently in the top 10 to 20, and any given year can win a national title. And so I could go on and on with this one. Listen, there's a couple reasons why I do think they've taken a step back. One, Boeheim's just gotten older, right? He's 74 years old. If you believe that a head coach's peak is sometime between 45 and 55, he's obviously past that. I don't think the 2-3 zone helps. I think it's really hard to sell high school kids on wanting to play zone when every elite high school player wants to get to the NBA as fast as possible. They know that going to Syracuse isn't going to prepare you for it. And then finally, listen, you go search on Twitter. There's some questions about his 2 sons and, the role that they play and I'm not getting into that stuff. If a Syracuse fan wants to criticize, the style of play or the coaching staff or the roster makeup or does the son shoot too much, I'll leave that up to them. All I'm saying is that Syracuse basketball, I believe, should be operating at a top 5, top 10, top 15 level in the sport. I don't think they're a top 30 program right now in college basketball, which is a darn shame. And I'll take it a step further. I've heard people in my business kind of say that, Syracuse, what are they going to be once Boeheim leaves? And they got to be careful because they could fall into irrelevance. I actually feel like it's the opposite. I feel like they've fallen into irrelevance. I feel like Jim Boeheim is the problem, and I actually feel like Jim Boeheim is the guy that's holding them back from being capable of what they are.